My name is Bree, and I have a problem. For the past few weeks, I can't eat. I can't sleep. All I've been doing is dreaming about the last time I felt truly alive. The last time I felt really joyful. I have an addiction to turning myself into a monster. The hell was that? Okay, so this week, I want to turn myself into another creepy character, and this time I want to do it right. I'm actually going to plaster mold everything. Gonna do it a little bit more by the book. I still don't have a life cast because, like, as previously stated, claustrophobia. The monster I will be becoming is one that haunted my nightmares for a good portion of my childhood. I like to think of this as a bit of creepy exposure therapy. There's a cult classic by the name of Little Monsters from the year 1989, starring Howie Mandel and Fred Savage. So, this movie isn't exactly a horror movie. To an 8-year-old or whenever I first watched this movie, it struck me as a horror movie. There's just something gross about it, and I was watching it last night, and I still get, like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just this gross feeling of existential dread or something. I don't know. But anyway, I figured if I turn myself into Maurice, maybe I won't be so freaked out by it. I can watch the scariest of the scary things, and it doesn't affect me at all, but this one just does. So this is going to be quite a project. Pretty excited about it because exposure therapy seems to work on me. So big thing is to work on the face. Let's get started. Here we are back in the sculpting zone. I'm here with what's her face's sister. What's her name? I don't know. And I need to sculpt mostly Maurice's like forehead and nose, and kind of just like where the horns are gonna be based, which I'm making out of foam clay, which I don't have yet. Should be here tomorrow, hopefully. And then I'm gonna be sculpting a bunch of warts in different sizes on a flat surface so that casting them will be really easy, and I could just like peel them off and put them on wherever I need to. Yeah, so let's get started. Oh yeah, so first I'm gonna need to measure my head and then bulk up her head where necessary. Is that gonna work? Hopefully. The sculpting part is finished. I'm pretty happy with it. I hope that the forehead doesn't end up like too bulbous. And then after the sculpt is complete, I need to put a rim of more of the oil-based clay about 1/4 inch away from the sculpt to create, I think it's called flashing. So when I pour the latex, it'll have better edges. And then around that, do like a moat maybe of some air dry clay to act as like the rim of what's going to be the base of the plaster pour. And then I'm gonna let that dry overnight. So before I prep it for the plaster pour, I need to go ahead and sculpt the horns and the ears out of some foam clay, which I've never worked with before, but it's always looked like a lot of fun to do. But I want to make sure the sculpt has a good base for the horns and everything, so I can just glue them on whenever everything's complete. I'm gonna go ahead and do those horns and the ears, and then it's plaster time, baby. Okay, so I think the horns look pretty cool. I think they're okay. Luckily, because it is foam clay, I can go and refine the shape once it's dry. So these are done. Time for the ears is. I finished the ears. They were surprisingly really easy because the foam clay is just so like squishy and moldable. And then I went back with the horns and I stuck them into the sculpt to really like get a good fit so that once everything's complete, I can just like stick them in there. Okay, so now comes the scariest part, is doing the plaster molding. I sprayed a clear coat on the sculpt, and while I'm waiting for that to dry, which I'm gonna do a few coats of that, I'm gonna go ahead and sculpt the flare that's gonna go on this vest. And like I said before, I don't wanna ruin the vest with a bunch of holes or sewing or whatever, so I'm gonna use some mounting tape to put whatever I make on it. And I'm gonna use some Sculpey. Might look janky, we'll see. I'm gonna bake these pins, and then I also need to start working on the big patch that goes on the back and says Born to be Wild. I have a swatch of fabric that I used that fabric paint from my last project to paint it red. Alrighty, so I've got some water already in this cauldron, because of course it's a cauldron. And I know that I need to pour enough plaster in to make it like a dry riverbed. So I'm gonna attempt to do that real quick. It's advisable to mix it with your hands so you can get a good gauge of the texture and also be able to get rid of some of the clumpiness and air bubbles. So I'm gonna take a chip brush and give it a beauty coat, as they say. Just kind of like slopping some on and then painting it into the crevices. And then just like lightly brush it into all of your sculpts. Globbing on plaster is like weirdly therapeutic. Okay, and then just continue globbing until it kind of covers everything. And then I'm gonna let that layer become almost putty-like. This stuff dries pretty quickly, so I'm thinking maybe like 15 minutes, and then do more coats. Okay, while I'm waiting for the goop to become less goopy, let's paint some of the little pins. So as far as I can tell, I'm at a really good point with the plaster. I've put on like 2 layers now, and I want to do a 3rd layer with fabric in it. I don't have burlap, which is what you're supposed to use, so I'm just going to use a white sheet, and that's supposed to give it some extra stability. Okay, now it's all bandaged up. I'm going to mix up some more plaster and just like put that on top of this to smooth it out. I think it's done. I have no idea how I'm gonna get this off of it once it's dry, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. 'Tis time to break open this mold and see if it worked. Now I'm the most nervous that I've been in this whole thing, so I think I'm just gonna turn it over, see what happens. Okay, some of the air dry clay is coming off, which is fine. Okay, got some intact plaster behind that. Let's keep going. I wouldn't call it a locked mold yet, but might be. I just really don't want to break it. We did it! God. Lucky. I did it! I'm in as much disbelief as you are, trust me. So the next step is to obviously pour the latex, but because this is like parabolically shaped, I'm only gonna be able to pour it to a certain point, and then I'll paint the rest of it on like the the horn area, and then I'll leave it for about 15 minutes and then pour out the excess. If I need to go in and bulk up some more, I can always add more. So let's do that. And this is the latex I'm using. I could have opted for foam latex, but it was a lot more expensive and involved to like actually mix it up. So maybe next time. I'm just gonna pour it until I can't anymore. Now I'm just gonna kind of tap it to hopefully get some air bubbles out if there's any on the surface. Okay, 15 minutes. While the latex dries, I'm going to work on the foam clay horns and ears. Just gonna Dremel them up now that they're completely cured. And yeah, probably before I'm even done with that, the latex will be done to drain it. And then I'll come back while that's drying to paint and finish these guys. So I poured out the excess latex. I think before I let it cure completely, I'm gonna like bulk up the horn area because I could thicken it up with some cotton, but I mean like that was just such a like mess last time that I really don't wanna have to do that again. And latex dries pretty quickly, so I feel like I can do that without having to worry about it too much. So as far as the horns and the ears go right now, my original plan was to create the like grooves that are like vertical on it with the Dremel, but that wasn't really working. So I'm gonna do that with probably an X-Acto blade. And the Dremeling is mostly to create the sort of like 2-cylinder shape that it has, for lack of a better way to describe it. And then I'll probably do the same with the ears, just clean up the ears a little bit and then clean it up more with an X-Acto. I let the latex dry overnight so it's completely cured, and now it's ready to demold. Okay, now for the face prosthetic, I'm just gonna powder the hell out of it. Oh my God, there it is. That's so exciting. It's so much smoother than the Terrifier one. Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool. This turned out so awesome. I'm so excited. Obviously the Terrifier would have looked so much better if I had done it through this method, but now I know. I don't think I'm gonna pre-paint it just because the surface area isn't that much and it's all like mostly on the front of my face. My biggest worry though is painting the bald cap. These guys are done. I'm going to trim them up at some point here. It looks like the horns are gonna fit in really well, so that's a win too. I think I'll probably attach those with liquid latex just because, I mean, I do want them to be like a single unit and I'll be able to reapply it for whatever need in the future. Obviously I need to find some cons to go to now. The major thing left is making Maurice's mohawk. So he has like kind of a dark purple, like frizzy, matted looking mohawk. And I'm going to attempt to cut a mohawk out of this, keeping the lace intact, hopefully, so that I can just put it on top once I've done the makeup and maybe apply it with some Pros-Aide or something. You guys are ready to get weird? I am so excited to do this makeup and I think I've got everything laid out and ready to go. Gonna start with the bald cap. I've never put on a bald cap before, so this is gonna be a figure it out as I go situation. Okay, just gotta smooth my hair back as much as possible. I'm not gonna be worried about tucking it up underneath the bald cap because I have kind of a high collar in the back, so I'm just gonna like let my hair flow down in my back. I've got a bunch of extra just in case. And I don't think there's any instructions with this. I don't know if I need to put on this little like wig cap thing. Oh, that was surprisingly easy. Yeah, there's like a lot of hair just like visible back here, so. Oh, well, we'll figure that out later, huh? Now for the prosthetic, it's gonna be like here, which I do not relish putting Prozade on my eyelids again. That was the worst with a Terrifier one. I have no idea how I'm gonna get all this shit off my face when this is over with. Oh God. So I'm gonna let the liquid latex dry for a little while, and then it's the next step. So far it's looking pretty terrible. But I mean, honestly, it's a step up from the cosplay I did before, so it's all a learning experience. So I don't know if it's gonna be a permanent solution or not. I can't really move my neck that much, but it does cover my hair better. Oh dear Lord. Why did I think I could do this time around? Well, in the words of Tobias Funke, I just blew myself. My edges are atrocious. But still trucking on. Let's keep going. Okay, so the layer of paint is dry. I'm gonna go ahead and do my around my eyes and lips. And I decided I am gonna use the ears because they're pretty flat, so they should go on pretty well. I think I'm gonna Prozade them. If that doesn't work, I'll have to do liquid latex, which takes quite a bit longer to dry, so hopefully the Prozade works. Oh, and it's super fun that my phone doesn't recognize me right now and I'm using it for my reference pics, so yeah. So washed out. Okay, now I'm going to do some shading and do all the color variation that's up on the forehead with some really cheap eyeshadow that I got on Amazon. And I'm gonna have a link to everything I'm using down in the description because everything I got is from Amazon, which is bless up Amazon. Like Bezos, but like, let's be real, it's convenient as hell. See, this is color palette, it was super cheap. I think this turned out so freaking rad. I love doing this sort of thing. I think as for the exposure therapy thing, I think this is absolutely effective because I'm not afraid anymore. Things I think I did well were the sculpt into plaster, which is something that like really made me nervous, but like turned out to be way easier than I thought it was gonna be. And I know next time I will do a thinner pour of the latex because my edges are absolutely atrocious. The ears are also really weird. I could have sculpted like more of a headpiece that had the ears like intact, but you know, I didn't, so maybe next time. And I think everything turned out pretty awesome. I'm really pleased with it. I have links to most of the stuff that I've used in this whole project down in the description. The next thing I'm gonna do is not gonna be another cosplay, but I think that I might be doing a lot more in the future. This is really fun. And check out my videos from before this. Come back next week for some more creepy cool stuff, and I'll see you next time. Oh, no, don't turn on the light.